Deleted scenes are always some of the most fun you'll find on the special features of your favorite film. Usually when a scene was cut, there was a good reason for it. Maybe it didn't add anything or it messed up the pacing, but sometimes there are scenes that we think definitely should have stayed in the final cut of the theatrical release, as they would have made things less confusing in the end. Before we get started though, be sure to click on the subscribe button if you haven't already to stay up to date with all the awesome content coming your way from Screen Rant. Also, can you guess the hit film based off of these emoji? Stay tuned for the answer.
You were not summoned here to grovel, Director Krennic.
No,
There is no Death Star.
There's something about Vader. It seems like Star Wars is always in the headlines these days, with Disney revitalizing the franchise and giving us not only a new trilogy, but a new set of spin-off films. The Last Jedi is just around the corner and fans are getting hyped, so we decided to take a look back into the original trilogy. While there have already been plenty of alterations made to the original 3 films, we can definitely say that one scene definitely should have been added to the fold. You know, as opposed to that CGI Jabba scene in A New Hope. We're talking about a scene in Return of the Jedi, in which Yoda talks to Luke about Kenobi's secret concerning his father. In this extended scene, Yoda confirms to Luke that Vader is indeed his father. But there's also a new bit of information here that changes how we look at Kenobi, who always seemed to be something of a manipulator of the truth. Yoda tells Luke that Kenobi would have in fact told him the truth if Yoda allowed it. So if this was included in the final cut, Kenobi dancing around the truth would have been because he was on strict orders from his former master to not reveal anything due to Luke being emotionally unprepared.
You've declared war against the Federation. Withdraw. I'll agree to arrange a conference with Romulan leadership at a neutral location.
I do not speak for the Empire. We stand apart.
Nero's downtime. J.J. Abrams had the daunting task of making Star Trek fresh for a new generation, and we can all safely say he did that. The soft reboot of the franchise appealed to both Trekkies and newcomers alike, who took to Abrams' more kinetic approach to Star Trek. In the film, the big bad is played by Eric Bana, one of the few big-name actors attached to the project at the time. Bana played Nero, a Romulan captain from another timeline. He was sucked into a black hole alongside the original Spock and thrust into the new reboot timeline with Chris Pine as Kirk. When Spock went through the hole, however, it felt like moments for him, whereas Nero and his shipmates were stuck in limbo for over 20 years. So what did they get up to exactly for so long? As it turns out, the answer is pretty cool. Unlike Spock, who had it easy, the Romulan ship was eventually captured, which saw Nero and his crew enslaved by the Klingons. They worked in the mines for over 2 decades, over which Nero was formulating plans to free his people and escape the prison planet. The escape would have given Nero even more credibility and showcased how patient of a villain he could be.
What is this newfound love for the Frost Giants? You could have killed them all with your bare hands.
I've changed.
So have I.
Loki's plan. In contrast to Thor Ragnarok's fun and humorous tone, the first Thor movie was much more in the vein of a comic book Shakespeare film. It had a much more serious tone, which set the stage perfectly for intense family drama. When frost giants attack Asgard at the beginning of the film, Thor launches a covert mission to their homeworld to find some answers. Upon their return, however, they learn that Odin was made aware of their conquest thanks to a tip-off from one of the guards. It's pretty jarring to hear this information yet never see Loki talk to any guards. In a deleted scene, however, we see the team getting ready to head out to the Bifrost where Heimdall awaits. While the Gatekeeper's powers are being discussed, Loki slips away and reveals their mission to the guard in the background. It shows not only the missing piece of information, but that Loki doesn't even have to sneak around to get what he wants. The scene, however, features a set that felt very unlike Asgard, so maybe it was for the best that the scene was cut, aesthetically at least. We would have still preferred to have seen Loki conjure up his plan.
Ripley,
I don't want to hear about it, Bishop. She's alive. There's still time.
in 19 minutes, this area is going to be a cloud of vapor the size of Nebraska.
Hicks, don't let him leave.
We ain't going anywhere.
Ripley's past. James Cameron's Aliens film is a classic, there's no doubt about it. A more action-heavy sequel to Ridley Scott's horror masterpiece, Aliens sees Sigourney Weaver's Ripley return to the fold to deliver the pain to a whole pack of aliens this time, including the Queen. Ripley is one of cinema's most awesome action heroes. She isn't a warrior or a soldier, yet when thrown up against the odds, she muscles up and doesn't let anything go to chance, which is one of the common criticisms of the beloved film. She's essentially a robot with a one-track mind for taking out these aliens alien scums. But Ripley has been in cryosleep for the better part of a century, meaning that everyone she'd once known is now dead, including her daughter. Yet, that doesn't seem to faze her much. In a deleted scene, however, we get to see Ripley's emotional side, showing the audience that she's much more human than we've been led to believe. She's informed of the passage of time and the fate of her daughter in a scene which causes her to eventually break down. Putting this scene in not only humanizes the alien hunter, but also explains her attachment to Newt later in the film.
Boromir, it is a strange fate that we should suffer so much fear and doubt over so small a thing.
One does not simply delete. His online fame aside, Boromir can be seen as a rather one-dimensional character in the original cut of the Fellowship of the Ring. The son of Gondor goes from wanting to protect Frodo to lusting over the ring between scenes, and it seems like the ring is seriously corrupting this soldier. But a deleted scene, which was ultimately restored in the director's cut, should have been left in the theatrical cut. In The Two Towers, we meet Boromir's brother Faramir, who, unlike his brother, is treated like dirt by their father, the steward of Gondor. In a flashback scene, we see that the two brothers were in fact quite close, as they bask in celebration after winning a battle. While Boromir is regarded as a Middle-earth rock star, he makes sure not to forget his brother. While his father presents Boromir with affection, it shows how open his dislike for Faramir is, to the point where Boromir is actually put off by it. But one can't say no to their father. He orders Boromir to the Council of Elrond to get the ring and bring it to Gondor. With that in mind, Boromir's obsession with the ring takes on a whole new light, when we know Boromir was there on the orders of his father.
Face an unfortunate complication. That my wand and Potter's share the same core.
You know who. You know who. Otherwise known as He Who Shall Not Be Named, or more blatantly, Lord Voldemort. He's the most powerful dark wizard to ever exist in the Harry Potter universe. He's done some pretty terrible things. So horrible, in fact, that people, both good and evil, are scared of saying his name out loud. Of course, there are a few people who aren't afraid of the name. Fear of a name increases the fear of the thing itself, after all, and Harry Potter has known this for years. He says Voldemort's name quite openly, and always freaks out people who are around him. But perhaps he shouldn't have been so liberal with his defiance of the Dark Lord. Have you noticed that the Death Eaters seem to just conveniently appear around Harry during the events of Deathly Hallows? That's because Voldemort actually put a curse on his own name, highlighting whoever said it to be found. Since no one is exactly saying Voldemort out loud, it allowed the Death Eaters to narrow in on Harry quite easily. Ron informs Harry of this in a deleted scene in part 1 of the Hallows film, a piece of information he overheard from a bloke at the Ministry. It's a cool piece of trivia that explains the cunning of the Death Eaters.
99 target acquired. Repeat. King Kong is dead. Let's go. Get up.
Man 1, Apes 0. War of the Planet of the Apes was a critical and commercial success for 2017 and introduced Woody Harrelson to the series to confront the Ape King Caesar. But where was the Jason Clarke character in this third entry in the reboot prequel trilogy? Clarke's Malcolm was the lead character in Dawn of the Planet of the Apes and an ally and friend to Caesar. The apes seem to have a pretty terrible relationship with mankind as a whole, but the few human allies they have can be considered friends in the eyes of the advanced species. So where did Malcolm go? The answer remained unknown in the final cut of the film, but a look in the deleted scenes of the film gives closure to Malcolm's character, or rather, gives us a bleak answer to his whereabouts. When confronted with Harrelson's colonel, Caesar asks him the whereabouts of Malcolm, a man the colonel regarded as a remarkable man, who informs a somber Caesar that he shot him. Yikes, talk about cold-blooded. We think this powerful moment should have definitely stayed in the film to give emotional weight to the previous film's actions.
Blah, 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 blah. All of that chit-chat's gonna get you hurt.
Oh my God.
Literally any cut Joker scene in Suicide Squad. Love it or hate it, Suicide Squad was a pretty popular film, enough so that there's a sequel in active development as we speak. A major part of the first film's marketing, however, was riding on Jared Leto's portrayal of the Joker. The character is one of the most popular and beloved villains of all time and was previously played by Heath Ledger in the Christopher Nolan Dark Knight film. With Leto fresh off an Oscar win, the expectations were high for a lot of Joker mayhem in the Suicide Squad film, but much to everyone's surprise, including Leto, almost all of the Joker scenes were cut from the film. Naturally, that didn't give the film enough time to really dive into this version of the Joker, which left many fans unsatisfied. The deleted scenes cover a lot of the history between Harley Quinn and the Joker, information that would be crucial to the development of Harley's character, seeing as she's presented as one of the anti-heroes of the film. One such scene sees the recently tortured Harley chase after the Joker, declaring her love for the Clown Prince of Crime. We see Harley take on her first kill in this scene, an act she does to impress Mr. J. Leto has stated there were even more cutscenes which further added to Joker's characterization.
You think you could find out what's coming?
I do. Besides this one, there's nothing that can't be explained.
Thors Vision. There's no doubt that Thor's cave scene in Avengers Age of Ultron is considered by many to be really random at best and forced and unnecessary at worst. One of the biggest criticisms Age of Ultron had was setting up too many future events. Not only was it establishing the Infinity Stones in the minds of the Avengers, but also set up the events of Ragnarok, the latest Thor film. In the initial cut, Thor's vision scene in the cave felt pretty tacked on. That's a fair assessment, as the studio insisted the scene be part of the feature film. But the scene was stripped of its core components, making it a scene that most fans remember as being pretty choppy. However, there was a lot more footage that was cut from the film that would have made the scene much better. The original scene gave audiences an avalanche of information, all presented in a rushed and choppy montage of exposition. The deleted scene, however, is much slower and keeps the action within the cave, giving us a much clearer and sinister look at the future than what we got in the theatrical cut. We think the deleted version gives us a clearer understanding of both the stones and what they mean to the greater picture, which makes Thor's previous fear vision make even more sense.
Let the armies of Mordor know this. Never again will the land of my people fall into enemy hands!
There you have it, everyone. Which deleted scene do you think should have stayed in the final cut of the film? Were there any we missed? Should film studios be more concerned with runtime or with giving us the information we need? Let us know what you think in the comments, and be sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel to get the latest content added straight to your playlist. Thanks for watching. And of course, the answer to the emoji trivia question is...